Hey folks, how you doing? It's been a while since I reviewed a book. I have been reading a lot of books, but I have not gotten onto the video channel and talked about one for some time. So I got this book from Pact and I'm going to go ahead and review it. This is AI and Data Literacy by Bill Schmarzo. So some of you may notice I'm kind of growing my best crazy Bill Schmarzo hair to review this book. Just kidding. It's just been a while since my last haircut, and I'm trying out the beard. Let me know if you like it in the comments. But I got through this book. It was a very quick read, and mainly just because I'm a nerd and I find these things very entertaining. But I think it was a quick read because it just appeals to everybody. Bill Schmarzo is much more technically savvy than I am. I'm not a data scientist. I'm an analyst on my best day. But this book really appeals to people of all levels. And he dives right in by talking about who the book is for. He identifies three groups. So segment one, you can kind of say the every person audience. So people that are not data professionals, but they kind of want to know, what is this AI revolution all about? Gen AI and machine learning. They hear these concepts, they don't really know necessarily what they are, certainly don't comprehend exactly how these concepts and procedures are affecting them. So this is a very important group or book for that demographic. Second segment, he's talking about data professionals who maybe aren't hardcore data scientists, they're not working in AI, but they're looking to find out how AI and the concepts that he talks about in this book can help their careers. And I'm definitely in that group. Also in the first group quite a bit. We'll talk about how that makes sense. And then the third segment, he talks about data professionals who are deep into the AI space and are responsible for or actively seeking to engage in the definition and oversight of rules and regulations governing the ethical, responsible, and meaningful design and deployment of AI. So the book kind of moves back and forth between these three groups a little bit. And so there are chapters that will definitely appeal to anybody and are just great, kind of riveting reads. There are chapters that go a little high level nerdy, and even I found them a little, they're not dull, they're just not quite as riveting as the rest of it. But let me definitely highlight some of the best parts. So he starts out chapter one, why AI and data literacy. And you can see I've got all sorts of markers here for where I want to go. And he talks about, in this section, he talks about an AI and literacy framework. Let me see where I can find it. The AI and data literacy framework. Let me hold that up so you can see it. Block my face. It's bad blocking. The AI and data literacy framework is a 6-component concept where he goes from data and privacy awareness to techniques to making informed decisions, again, that sort of every person stuff, prediction and statistics, going a little more nerdy, value engineering competencies, kind of in between, and then AI ethics. The thing you have to remember when you're going through this book is that you realize at the end that Bill was probably half to 2/3 done with this when ChatGPT broke on the scene. And so I think he had to go back and do kind of a furious rewrite and integration of those concepts and themes into the book after the fact. And then he wrote a 10th chapter specifically about ChatGPT where he addresses, hey, this thing came out while I was writing the book. So very interesting the way he managed to, he was out ahead of that curve, and then when that hit and everybody started realizing how this was going to affect us, he wove that into the book. You see mentions of ChatGPT throughout. So chapter 2, super important, data and privacy awareness. This is a very approachable chapter. It's written for every reader, and it's just full of tons of examples that everybody can identify with. He talks about the data of his dog. He talks about his physical fitness journey, talks about receipts at point of sale, scoring baseball games, just things that anybody, even non-data professionals, can definitely relate to. But it starts to get into some really interesting stuff where he talks about how is your data collected and captured by organizations that use data. Third-party aggregators, definitely not something that the average person is aware of. Data protection and privacy laws. This is a tremendously important chapter, very important concepts for people to understand, but very important for people to know about, especially this section. How organizations monetize your data. Why is it worth it to companies to know what Albert Bellamy's doing on a daily basis? Well, Bill explains that. Third chapter, we're getting a little more nerdy. So third chapter is analytics literacy. However, right at the start, he knows people are going to balk a little bit at the title, so he says it is essential that you have a rough idea of how these algorithms work and what they are good at doing, and the implication is how they affect you. And so he's trying to demystify data science. Hey, that's useful even for me. Love this section here. What is BAI and what is data science and what's the difference between the two? Useful even for me. So differences between BI and data science. And the big concept in this chapter is called the Analytics Maturity Index. Now he goes into some stuff that seems like well-worn territory. I mean, everybody knows, well, every data professional knows Gartner's stages of analytics maturity. So you've got the descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Definitely well-worn territory. What Bill does here, and this might be my favorite segment of the book, he goes into just what is being done at each of those segments. And then what are the procedures? What are the analytical and data science procedures, algorithms, things that are being done to address each of those? So operational reporting at the descriptive level, value stream mapping, Pareto charts, regression analysis, simple stuff, and then it builds from there. And so you get an idea of which of these algorithms, which of these data science processes are used at each stage. For me, that was very informative, and I expect to come back to this section repeatedly to kind of refresh that knowledge. Talks about in here the Internet of Things and how they collect data, how they affect people. So chapter 4 starts getting super high level. So chapter 4 is understanding how AI works. This was where the book dragged a little for me, just because the concepts being explained were not either ones that I only knew the names of, or it was new information for me. I think I also tried to read this chapter at night when I was tired, so yeah, it happens. But chapter 4, definitely a bit more for the high-level readers. Chapter 5 gets right back down into the muck of us average Joes, if you will, making informed decisions. Chapter 2, 3, and 5 really were kind of the meat of it. So making informed decisions, he goes into human decision-making traps. And I love that section title, and I truly wish more people just understood these concepts, because he gets in here to logical fallacies and how people make poor decisions with data based on overconfidence, based on the sunk cost fallacy, based on some game theory stuff, risk aversion, decisions based on averages, based on anchoring. Really, really useful stuff. And then he's got a whole segment here on avoiding decision-making traps. So how do you eliminate your biases? How do you eliminate your anchors and your points of reference? So very useful stuff. That was chapter 5, making informed decisions. Chapter 6 is statistics, full-on nerd level. I really enjoyed that one because I'm a statistician at heart. So kind of a pleasure read for me in a geeky way, but not the most approachable chapter. Chapter 7 is a nice middle ground. Chapter 7, he gets into something called value engineering competency. And here's what I took out of this chapter. Data in and of itself has no value. It sounds common sense when you put it out there, but sometimes these things have to be stated or we kind of lose track of them. Insights may have value. if they are used to drive better decisions and those decisions affect the bottom line. Obviously, all of these things are based on probabilities. So if your insights drive what should be a good decision, and then COVID happens and some catastrophic economic thing occurs, any good decision can turn out bad in the end run because of circumstances. But using data to form insights, to glean information, because there's a difference between data and information, using those to pull insights and using those insights to drive better decisions, being a data-driven, if we can use that well-worn cliche, organization, is where the advantage is gained. So he talks about value engineering, competency, and not pursuing data for data's sake. How do we find value from data? Another good concept here is the concept of nanoeconomics. And so I don't want to butcher this, so I'll just read him word for word. Nanoeconomics is the economic theory of individual entity, human or device, predicted behavioral and performance propensities. Okay, a bunch of big words there, but essentially it's saying what we're doing here is we're not trying to aggregate the behavior of masses of population. That is useful in its own way, but nanoeconomics is trying to figure out what is Albert Bellamy going to do next. This goes back to my background in marketing analytics, brief though it was, where we were doing attribution and we were trying to map the customer journey from seeing an advertisement to getting a reinforcement to seeing another advertisement and eventually making a purchase or not, and figure out what does that journey look like. Well, that's nanoeconomics, trying to figure out on an individual level what makes a person make that next decision. I got a lot of enjoyment out of this chapter. I think it's very informative. Chapters 8 and 9 go into the ethics of AI and culture. It's good stuff, cultural empowerment. It's good stuff. I didn't find it as riveting as the rest of the book. Very informative. Really liked in cultural empowerment. Man, Billy, you got me. Battle of Trafalgar. Military history, I'm a sucker. So, really love that. Long story short, Lord Admiral Nelson, the British commander, badly outnumbered by the Spanish and French armadas. They were employing traditional tactics, and he realized in order to overcome the numerical advantage, what he had to do was propose some revolutionary tactics, and then he could not command all of his ships at once. He had to send them essentially on individual suicide missions and say, do the best you can with the situation around you. And so he empowered subordinate leaders, ship captains, to win the battle. And they did, saved England and kind of turned the tide of history at that point. And so a history lesson on team empowerment, really a good one there, but just a cool chapter, but just not the one that had me riveted in spite of the historical example. Let's look at chapter 10. This is the last one. ChatGPT changes everything, and boy, has it ever. Really love how he chose to structure this and just be upfront with, hey, I didn't write this book to be talking about ChatGPT. It just sort of happened that way. I think Bill knew that things were on the horizon. He's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on in AI, clearly. But talks a lot about ChatGPT, how it's going to affect you, how you can use it to advance your career. So this is tremendously useful knowledge here. And yeah, just some very hands-on stuff. It's not giving you prompts that you can cut and paste, but it is talking about what are the risks, what is the upside, how can you use it, how is it going to enable you. And he refers multiple times throughout the book, and movie references all about it. He refers multiple times throughout the book to Terminator and Skynet, and hey, AI is going to do a lot of things. It's going to do some good things and some bad things. What it's probably not going to do is become self-aware and nuke us from orbit anytime soon. But he does talk about artificial general intelligence and what that is, and what the danger is there. So this is a fantastic book. You can see I generally can show you how much I enjoyed a book by the number of tabs and marks I have in it and pages folded down. So highly recommend it. Packed books, AI and Data Literacy by Bill Schmarzo. Go out and pick yourself up a copy. The next book that I am already reading, because I finished this a few days ago, so it's taken me a while to get this video together. I'm going to go on to a pack that's just been blowing up my mailbox. Data Wrangling with SQL. So I'm going to rip through that one. That one is a much more hands-on. I'm going to actually be doing some SQL exercises in there, which I'm not much of a SQL guy, so it's a bit of a stretch for me. But I will work on that, and I will get you a review on that. Everybody, this is something that I'd like to continue doing going forward with the 75 Hard Challenge, if you're familiar with that. I'm doing a lot more reading lately, and I've been getting through a lot of books. You probably can't see it. I don't think it's in frame, but there are a lot of books on the shelf behind me that I've actually read. They're not just there for show. So if you like this kind of content, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I love it. Recently passed 350 subscribers. I didn't even notice because I wasn't really putting out much content, to be honest. But I'd like to do more of these book reviews as I finish books, and probably of books that I've already finished. So if you've got something you'd like to hear about, I do read a lot of business books, but I also read a lot of data books. So I'm happy to review both of them. Let me know what kind of books you like. Let me know what you'd like to hear about. Maybe I'll take a request, pick up a book when I don't really have anything else on the docket, and I'll do a special request review. Talk to you later.